After the release of Grand Crusade, I've kind of changed my opinion on various different units in the game that I would consider must summons or someone that you should consider getting. Lisette overall though is a physical damage buff character that's able to provide a physical rest to the team, also lowering the enemy's physical equip CT speeds and heal equip CT speeds, while also being able to stack DR down onto whatever enemy she's fighting. The big thing about Lisette though is that she is able to give everyone on her team a 30k barrier for the first 100 seconds of a quest. Of course, that barrier is going to be really solid depending on what you're doing, and in most content I would say that are sustain heavy content in the regular game modes of Grand Summoners, this barrier may fall off or just get absolutely destroyed within like the first 30 seconds or something. However, in Grand Crusade, this barrier is going to get tons of value. If you're able to pair this barrier up with some type of DR like Shiro Emiya's DR, Beta's DR, even Sandstone's DR, it's going to make this barrier so much more effective, and it's going to be able to keep your team alive. Hell, even if you can't use another character, using a defense item alongside this barrier, you will be able to make sure that your team does not get absolutely gutted in the higher floors of Grand Battle. The next character I want to mention after that is going to be our brand new Thickums on JP, and that is Aaron's. And the reason why I say Thickums, look at these freaking thighs, dude. This boy has never skipped leg day a day in his life when it comes to utilizing him alongside other characters that can inflict status effects, or just utilizing him alongside his own status effect. He's going to deal so much damage, not to mention his animations are relatively fast. And the fact that he has one of the most unique passives in the game that just kind of is meant to beat EX bosses. Like, you put him on the team and then everybody gets 25% HP every 10 seconds. That's pretty freaking good. He is on Mono Earth, so he is able to be used alongside a character like War God Finn, who's able to provide that crit chance to him. Not to mention, he can also be used alongside his best friend Veldora. This guy's a dragon, Veldora's a dragon. It's a match made in heaven. Veldora gives defense ignore, buffs up his damage anymore. Aaron's is going to be slapping folks. And that's like the last big thing that I want to mention here. His very unique race type. He is a dragon. In regular game modes, dragons aren't countered. It doesn't matter who you fight, you will never ever see a dragon be countered. Until we have more dragons in the game, dragons will not be countered. In Grand Battle, you do see dragons be countered a little bit because they could have a certain weather effect in play where dragons deal more damage, but they also take more damage. Since Vilzar's release, this unit has definitely grown on me a bit more. And the reason why it's grown on me because I realize you don't need to use his art multiple times or even use his equip multiple times. If you use Dark Haruto, and I mean OG Dark Haruto's true weapon, you're able to inflict the enemy with the bleed if he already has a bleed. And then with Velzard's true weapon, you're able to inflict a bleed as well. So if everything goes right, you use both of them, boom, they now have all the bleed stacks onto them with a singular use of the art. And getting 100 art gauge in this day and age, you all know, is not hard whatsoever. You could get that in under like 2 seconds if you have the right equips on. You now have a 30% DR. It's like you have unlimited blade works up within like the first 10 seconds of the quest, which is going to be really strong in any kind of boss stage where you're only fighting a singular boss. Combine this with the fact too that he's on mono fire, so you could utilize him with characters like Sunraku, Summer Iris, and get crazy amounts of DR. You know, why not pair him up with Demiurge for that last slot, put up a barrier? What the heck's gonna hurt you, man? Now, the next character I want to mention is Natasha. I didn't really talk about Natasha too much whenever we did the last video. I don't even think I mentioned her. But now with the release of Grand Crusade and how much I'm valuing DR and how I feel like you need Natasha, bro. Like, Natasha in like any team, throw her on there and then instantly everyone on the team is just gonna get like 20% DR, and it's able to stack all the way up to 60% on that art. Incredible. And the thing is that every time you use this art, it's increasing the duration of your DR buff. So once you get it maxed out, as long as it doesn't ever fall off, you can just keep it at 60% DR the entire time. Of course though, my thing is that you probably don't need to use the super art. For the most part, I would say just using the art and the true art, kind of alternating between the two, and just keep doing that. Whenever you use Natasha, it's going to get you very, very far. And like I mentioned before, if you use her on like more of just a universal dark team, like for an example, let's say you use Samurai Rim, Shadow maybe, and then Sword God Luan, or even Halloween Forte in that last slot, well, ladies and gentlemen, you're almost getting a max buff from Halloween Forte's passive, along with crazy amounts of arch gen, DR, and yeah, you're gonna be perfectly fine when it comes to most stuff in the game. Also, one thing I will say too, highly recommend you pick up her true weapon whenever she comes out, because her true weapon gives her an additional 5 seconds on her art and super art. And you buff up your own arc gauge by 1 per second. And lastly, who doesn't want RNA, right? I mean, it's literally RNA from Final Fantasy 15. You're FF15 fan, I feel like it's just, you gotta get this unit. Now on to the big boys, which is the Kenshin crossover. This crossover offers a lot of value and definitely is worth considering. Kenshin himself. Kenshin is gonna be the other unit that I was mentioning earlier in the video where you use him alongside Maset. Since Kenshin is able to provide your team, if all conditions are met, 40% DR for 120 seconds of a quest. Maset's instantly popping a barrier as soon as you load in. A 30k barrier on top of a 40% DR buff with just 2 units is insane. Not to mention too, Kenshin offers a defense slot to give your team even more damage mitigation, along with also being able to arch gen. And he has a lot of stuff in the kit that's just kind of helping that out. He's giving himself more arts on his skill. He arch gens on the true art. He's buffing up everybody's attack, and this is a permanent attack increase every time he uses this true art, by the way. The super art's buffing up crit rate and also giving himself super crits, which means he's going to be hitting insanely hard. And since he is on mono light, you could use him alongside BF Emperor, Maset, and then the last unit could literally be like Summer Chloe or Mako if you don't have her. And look at that, all the mono light relics are on your characters and you're dealing very big damage. Some people are non-believers still in Kenshin, and I was one of them. I was like, I don't think this unit's that good. But after playing Grand Crusade and even seeing gameplay of people using Kenshin in high-level Grand Crusade, I'm like, hey, not gonna cap. He's gonna be like the MVP when it comes to this game mode. The big one though that everybody needs to pick up is Hajime. Saito Hajime is the dumbest character I have ever seen Next Ninja release as a damage dealer. At least he makes every other damage dealer that came before him look like they were slapping enemies with a wet noodle. And the fact that this guy is a arch genner makes it even crazier. Skill 40 arc gauge, art buffing up human ally stats by 20% and his own stats by an additional 20%. True art buff up everybody's arts by 30. You reduce the enemy's physical res by 100. Super art increase own accuracy by 100% for the duration of the super art. Additionally, for 20 seconds, reduce the enemy's damage res by 75%. If own self is not affected by stats elements, reduce enemy's damage res by 150. Also, if that was enough, look at his passive. At the start of battle, increase next skill arts up by 100 and double next super art damage multiplier and break power. This happens every single start of battle. Every single time you go to a brand new wave in a stage, he's gonna get 100 arc gauge on his skill plus doubling his super art multiplier, meaning that he gets 460k on this super art multiplier, on top of the fact that he's reducing the enemy's DR by 75%. This guy has a 5-star support slot. He can run true EX gate or freaking letter bag. Once you get there, you pop off with that, you pop the super art, enemies just die. Oh, by the way, I don't know if I told you guys, but he has the ratio passive, and his is based on his attack and defense. The more attack and defense he has, the more damage he gets. What? Oh, and he has his true weapon. And guess what his true weapon is? It's Airi's true weapon. True Owen, but for dark units. What in the world, bro? There has been so many videos surfacing all over the place of Saito Hajime doing dummy damage against so many things. He's going to be so good when it comes to nuking in the game as just a self-sustained nuker himself. Depending on like what crest pals you do, you can probably do 2-man comps with him. Like him and Summer Me, you can probably clear majority of the crest pals just on their own. And then when it comes to Grand Crusade, as long as you provide this guy with enough arch gen, which he only needs 200 since he's getting 100 arc gauge whenever the battle starts, he's going to be able to blow up all of the mini bosses on every single stage. The only thing that may throw him off a bit is going to be the stage bosses. The only thing that would have made Hajime a bit more broken is that if he had built-in defense ignore by default, then he would hands down be the best attacker we've ever seen in Grand Summoners. But ladies and gentlemen, that is my updated list for the characters that I think you guys should save for going on in the future. This is the first time ever I've made an extension, or maybe you could say a continuation, of the who to save for a certain year. Every time before, it's set in stone, right? As soon as I release it, it's like, hey man, that's all that we're going to be doing for this year is just saving for these guys. But after Grand Crusade came out, I was like, man, I really got to update it. I don't want people sleeping on some of these characters and wind up struggling and then find out like a month later after they release and they're long gone, oh crap, this character was actually like one of the best units for this game mode. And at the bare minimum, you should at least look at them and consider like, maybe I summon on this, maybe I don't. I just want to make sure my peeps don't sleep on some of these units. But hey, you guys tell me down below, since Grand Crusaders came out, are you changing up your saving plan? Is there a unit that you really want now that before you were kind of just like on? Let me know all that type of stuff down below in the comment section. If you enjoyed this video though, highly man, check out this video popping on your screen right now. It's my 1 week thoughts on Grand Crusade. I talk about my positives, my negatives, some changes I would personally do to the game mode. So if you're interested in seeing that, I'll meet you over there. But before you leave, don't forget to drink water.